Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Let's call to order the December 27th, 2023 regular meeting of the East Bethel, Minnesota City Council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we adopt the agenda, our city attorney has advised me that we need to make note that the capstone topic that was tabled at the last meeting to the 27th was retabled till our next regular meeting, next city council meeting.
So with that, Mayor, since it was tabled to this meeting, we'll need a motion and a second and a vote to table it to the next city council meeting in January of 2024.
So moved.
Got a movement?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Discussion?
Go ahead.
Discussion.
Yeah, I just want to ask a question of why it wasn't on tonight's agenda.
I didn't compose the agenda, I don't know.
We're still in the process of coordinating a meeting with MnDOT, the Anoka County Highway Engineer, and the city engineer
To review the traffic
study with
Yeah.
Vern and his assistant Katie. And the county requested that MnDOT have an opportunity to provide input. So we're
Okay.
still working on coordinating that meeting.
And we're still going to follow within our, is it 90-day review period?
We did send a letter of extension, a 60-day extension letter to Capstone, letting them know that it could be extended up to February 28th.
Okay,
So we did take care of that.
okay. That's my only questions.
All right, with that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. Okay, so under item 4 on the agenda,
Sorry, Mayor, but
oh, we didn't adopt the agenda.
adopt the
yet.
agenda.
Make
I'll
a
make a
motion.
motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Wait a minute, that's Brian's job.
Oh, okay. Okay, never mind.
Go ahead, Jim. I'll let you do it.
You want to second it, Brian?
I'll second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to adopt our agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. Now with the agenda, we'll call on Ms. Julie Lux who's president of the Economic Development Authority of East Bethel, to give us her annual report.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Morning.
Excuse me.
Or afternoon, evening.
Evening.
Yep.
My name is Julie Lux. I have the honor of serving as the president of the East Bethel EDA. I'm here to provide a summary on the 2023 progress of our EDA. So as a reminder, or perhaps new information for those watching online or at home, the role of the East Bethel Economic Development Authority is to serve as an advisory body to the City Council. So we review and make recommendations to the council regarding marketing and promotion initiatives for our city. And we promote business retention activities and economic development projects with both new and existing businesses. So we've been involved at various stages of and have assisted and facilitated in many projects, including the following during the 2023 calendar year. So as we all know, the single-family market slowed down a bit due to the uptick in interest rates. We've issued 14 single-family home permits through November 31st as compared to the 19 single-family home building permits issued in 2022. But hopefully with this, I think we're going to see rates hopefully dip again a little bit, so we'll see demand increase for 2024. Among the developments we've approved, the Hidden Pines, Hidden Prairie plat, the preliminary plat for 10 lots of rural residential development, was approved by Planning Commission on December 27th, 2022, and City Council on January 9th, 2023. So the developer purchased adjacent additional land and resubmitted a new concept plan, adding an additional 7 lots. So that is expected based on the improved concept plan for early 2024. So Viking Meadows Capstone Homes, as we've heard before, submitted all the required materials necessary for their preliminary plat application for a 242 single-family home subdivision. Planning Commission recommended approval to City Council on November 28th, 2023, so we'll wait to hear what happens in January of 2024. Another important development this year is the Elevage Second Edition, which includes 212 units of rental townhomes. A healthy percentage of ownership and rental properties is really important to keep a community balanced, allowing living opportunities to potential members of our growing workforce, something our city is really working to expand. So the 212 unit development will include a clubhouse, swimming pool, along with walking trails that provide access to commercial services and connect with the adjoining properties to create the trail system that will provide, it'll serve the southeastern quadrant of Highway 65. Site work for the project is underway with grading, dewatering, and utility work to be completed. We have had several commercial construction projects started or completed in 2023, including the Washi Commercial Finishes building. So the initial building was constructed in 2004. There are 40 employees and the business outgrew its current facility. So they purchased the land east of them with the intent to construct a 7,200 square foot building addition. And they've got an additional 1,400 square foot outdoor cold storage building to the main building. The 7,200 square foot building, the main addition hasn't been started yet, but the additional items were completed in June 2023. The Holiday Station store plan site review, so that, as we all know, the Speedway convenience store at 187th and Highway 65 was demolished, and the new Holiday Station store was constructed on the site, opened in October of 2023. The Quick Trip on Sand Hill Parkway was completed with the grand opening on November 9th, and the ribbon cutting ceremony was on November 15th, 2023. A-Blast Sandblasting, 21473 Johnson Street. The city received an application in May 2023 for the expansion to the existing business. The new owners completed the expansion in August and relocated Curiosity Coatings from Elk River, Minnesota to the East Bethel Johnson Street Northeast location. The Nexus Family Solutions, City Council approved the conduit bond financing, and Nexus was able to purchase the former Cambia Hills site. The ribbon cutting and grand opening ceremony was held on November 8th, 2023. And this reopening has restored a critical psychological residential youth treatment service in our community and added back the opportunity for 90 jobs that were lost with the closure of the facility in May of 2021. Designing Earth Contracting, this beautiful, well-designed project at the entrance to our commercial park on 187th Lane is underway. The site work excavating and specialty they do site work excavating, specialty contracting, and utility installation. So they're finishing up their headquarters, and they're expected to move in early 2024. There's a lot of these. We're busy this year. Matt's Plumbing Solutions, 18651 Buchanan Street. Matt's is a licensed commercial and residential plumbing contractor serving the Twin Cities metro area. They were based out of Columbus, Minnesota, but they purchased the existing Designing Earth Contracting location with the intent to relocate the growing business, which is great. We have new construction and we're getting backfilling of those old locations, which is phenomenal because you see additional job growth, and then we're backfilling all of those properties. Team Drywall, 18533 Buchanan. So that's an East Bethel residential-based commercial drywall company. They purchased the facility, which was the former Northern Asphalt location, and they intend to expand and grow operations. So we've had a good year, a busy year, which is phenomenal, and I thank you very much for your time, and our EDA looks forward to continuing our assistance to the city. And any questions on anything that I've covered or comments?
Do you know what happened to the car wash that was gonna be at Quick Trip?
The car,
Or why that didn't
The,
materialize?
the site wasn't big enough, so they couldn't include a car wash.
Couldn't get a variance?
No, the site itself wasn't physically big enough. That question was asked at the plan review of the Quick Trip.
that makes sense. I suppose you need the ingress and egress and,
Okay,
okay. Anything else?
I just want to thank you and the other commissioners that serve on the EDA. You do a really great job.
Our pleasure. Yeah, we love our city and we look forward to growing and expanding our workforce and helping all the citizens of the community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
All right, thanks, Ed.
thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Next item on our agenda is the Anoka County Sheriff's Office report. And I didn't have the pleasure of meeting you when you were talking with Bob, so could you repeat your name?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Andrew Lindberg. I'm one of our patrol division
How do you do?
supervisors, or sergeants is my rank.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, you as well. All right, good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. I already introduced myself. I'm here to deliver the November Sheriff's Office report, and then I have a few notable incidents that were written up. I got the synopsis that I'll read off here to you. So, November had a total of 401 calls for service, which was on par with our other monthly averages throughout the year. Deputies responded to 1 burglary, 5 thefts, and 1 assault. There were 30 total arrests made in East Bethel, and deputies' traffic enforcement efforts resulted in the issuance of 27 citations on our roads. Some of the notable events are, the first one is November 4th at 9:40 p.m. Deputies were dispatched to an address in the 200 block of Elm Road on a report of a burglary in progress involving a weapon. Remarks provided to our deputies advised that 5 people had entered the caller's house with a handgun and demanded money. Prior to our arrival, our deputies learned that the suspects had fled in a silver SUV 15 minutes prior to call time. Deputies secured the scene and obtained witness statements from the victims. It was determined that a laptop and several phones were taken during the crime. Deputies contacted the Criminal Investigative Division and Crime Scene Unit, who processed the scene for any evidence. Our detectives then took over the investigation. Earlier this month, CID informed me that several arrests had been made related to this incident, but they were still actively pursuing all leads. The investigation is still ongoing. Again, on November 4th at 10:29 p.m., Deputy Drangeed responded to the area. This is a DWI, sorry. Responded to the area of Highway 65 and 237th Avenue on a report of an intoxicated driver being followed by a concerned motorist. The 911 caller reported that the vehicle was driving 38 miles per hour and saw it hit a road sign and drive into the ditch. The caller directed Deputy Drangeed to the vehicle parked in a driveway near the 2300 block of 224th Avenue. Deputy Drangeed pulled up behind the vehicle and activated his lights. Deputy spoke to the driver, who said he had pulled into the wrong address by mistake. While speaking with the driver, the deputy noticed signs of alcohol impairment. The driver admitted to drinking 1 tall beer earlier in the evening. Deputy Drangeed then asked the driver if he recalled hitting any signs while driving, at which the driver said no. Deputy Drangeed could clearly see heavy damage on the passenger side rear quarter panel, rear passenger door, and front passenger door. The passenger side mirror had also been broken off. Deputy Drangeed had the driver step out, perform field sobriety tests, which he ultimately failed. Preliminary breath test was offered, which reported a value of 0.28. Driver was arrested and transported to our office for an evidentiary breath test. Final breath test indicated a BAC of .27. The driver was transported to jail and released without incident. He was booked for third-degree DWI. November 11th at 11:48 p.m., another DWI. Deputy Johnson was on routine patrol in the 2100 block of Highway 65 when he stopped a Equinox for an equipment violation. Upon contacting the driver, Deputy Johnson noticed signs of alcohol impairment. The driver admitted to consuming alcohol several hours prior to driving. Deputy Johnson had the driver exit the vehicle and perform field sobriety, which ultimately failed. The driver PBT'd a .13 and was arrested for DWI. She was transported to the sheriff's office, were submitted to an evidentiary breath test, which resulted in a .11 BAC, transported to jail, cited for fourth-degree DWI. November 24th at 10:35 p.m., Deputy Johnson was, this is a stolen vehicle. Deputy Johnson was westbound on Viking Boulevard near 195th when he observed a Ford pickup truck traveling eastbound towards him with its passenger side tires crossing the southern fog line. Deputy Johnson turned around and began following the vehicle for driving conduct. When he did that, Deputy Johnson saw the vehicle accelerated to 86 miles per hour. Almost simultaneously, Deputy Johnson heard our dispatch center advise of a freshly stolen vehicle, or freshly stolen Ford pickup truck that had been taken from a local business in Ham Lake. Deputy Johnson aired this information, began pursuing the truck, believing it was the stolen vehicle from the recent broadcast. While following the truck, the vehicle fled north on Lever and Isetta streets before turning westbound on a Viking Boulevard. By this time, assisting deputies had successfully deployed stop sticks to deflate the tires of the truck. As the truck continued westbound on flat tires, it turned north on Highway 65 and continued to flee. Deputies continued to pursue this vehicle with the assistance of the State Patrol's helicopter and eventually utilized a pursuit intervention maneuver to stop the vehicle in the city of Cambridge. Deputies arrested a male and female as a result of this chase. Both were booked into jail for several related felony offenses. Sheriff's Office made 5 alcohol-related driving arrests in the month of November. As we approach the new year, we will continue to concentrate our efforts on removing impaired drivers from our roads. Please plan for a sober ride home if you plan on consuming alcohol over the holiday. Have a happy and safe new year. Thank you for allowing me to provide you the November update from the Sheriff's Office. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, you guys, what have you guys done for any rescues on Coon Lake?
The only call that I'm aware of on Coon Lake was a suspicious incident call where a citizen called in noting that there was cold weather gear, nice equipment, boots, jackets and such that were piled near the, I think it was, I didn't go on the call, but I was working when it happened, that were piled near, I think it was the boat landing over off of Lexington at the Coon Lake Park. And upon further checking, realized that there was 2 distinct ice cuts and they hauled, or the CSO gathered up all the cold weather gear because it was expensive stuff, and then upon further looking into it, noticed that there was cuts in the ice, indicating that somebody had ice skated away because apparently it was nice ice skating ice out there. So once the people came back, they gave them their cold weather gear. But anyway, the citizen found that to be suspicious, as did we, but that's the only thing that I've noted on Coon Lake.
Well, it's pretty much all open now.
Yeah,
There was this morning.
I suppose a couple inches of rain didn't help.
No, there were some water skiers this afternoon.
Saw that on the news.
Do people get billed if they have an accident and there's a response rescue? Who pays that bill? Does that the county pay it, or do the people that
The sheriff's office has never made a practice for billing any of our services.
If you dump a car in the lake, you get billed for that though, right?
Oh, yeah, it's expensive to get it taken out.
Yeah, you'd have to pay the salvage company.
Yeah,
or-
quite a bit,
which
I've
the
heard.
DNR would get involved in that, the contamination aspect of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
With the stolen vehicle, where it was discovered in Anoka County and proceeded into the city of Cambridge, how does the county deal with the change of jurisdictions?
Yeah, good question. Our licenses are for the state of Minnesota, even though we're employed by the county, so we can continue to take enforcement action if it originates in our area, or if we're on official duty outside of Anoka County and on duty, we can still take enforcement action outside of our jurisdiction if we're on official business out there. So it's a state license, so the jurisdictional boundary isn't too much of a barrier for us.
Okay, so ultimately, Anoka County would say, Isani County or Cambridge would not take over this case because it ended there, that the case would be all Anoka County with assistance by.
Correct, yeah, since the majority or lion's share of the offenses happened in Anoka County, and we're the ones that started it, the old adage, catch 'em, you clean 'em.
Yep. Then with the robbery, I don't know if you're familiar with it. Does the sheriff's office believe that this is an isolated incident and that there's no other further danger to the public?
That's my understanding,
Okay.
it was isolated.
When we first heard about this robbery business on Coon Lake, it was supposedly the perpetrator and the victim, or whatever you call them, knew each other and all that. Did that story hold up, or did it kind of fall apart?
I'm not sure, I don't want to give you bad information.
Okay.
Yeah, HIPAA.
I
that-
think there was some connection there,
Yeah,
but I'm not positive on that.
all right. Well, thank you, Sergeant Lindbergh, for the report. We appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Have a good New Year's.
Where's Lieutenant Peters in the Bahamas or something? What? No. You don't want to give me false information? Yeah, okay. He's in Curacao or something like that. Thank you. Chief Rod Sano, East Bethel Fire Department.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
For the month of November, the fire department responded to 105 calls. This was our busiest month ever. Of that, we had 78 medicals, 6 accidents, 4 alarms, and 2 mutual aid to our surrounding cities. As of today, we responded to 954 calls for service compared to 914 for last year. At our current trend, we'll be responding to around about 970 calls for the year 2023 in that. So that'll put us roughly 50 calls ahead of last year in that. The only thing I have else is if you're getting rid of Christmas trees, contact your trash hauler and see if they will pick them up. If not, the Anoka County compost sites are taking them. You can burn them, but it's not recommended. This is something I found out today by researching this, that the needles from the Christmas tree produce a toxic smoke. I did not know that. So it's unsafe to burn them. Also, with the grass still green or dry, burning permits are still required. To burn any brush piles, black snow makes it a high risk right now. And if you, please do not burn wrapping paper, recycle what you can, and what you can't recycle, put it in the trash. And with that, I just want to wish everybody a happy New Year's, and the echo of the Sheriff Department, please be safe. If you drink, do not drive. You don't want to see me in that. And I'll take any questions.
Chief, In the last 3 days, there's been 3 calls to Nexus. Do you know what's happening with that? Are they okay to begin with?
all I can tell you is their medicals. That's all I can tell you.
Have we had any other calls before that for Nexus, or is this
We have
the
had
first
one
time?
other call.
One other call? Okay. All right, thank you.
Guess that's it.
Yep, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
Chief.
Have a Happy New Year.
Have an uneventful New Year's. Okay, next item on our agenda is the public forum. I don't know if anybody signed up for it or not.
Mayor, there are no signatures.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next item is the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. I'd like to pull items H and I.
I'll second that motion.
It's been more than 2 hours since our last meeting, so do we approve it or edit it first?
Oh, Mayor, just want to make sure that there are no other items being pulled, and once that's been
Well,
confirmed, you can.
I'm going to, so I should do that now.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay. I'd like to pull item A, which is the approved bills, and item C, which is the minutes of the November 15th, our town hall meeting. So, subject to that, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Can we get a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
And Jim had seconded it.
Yeah, we
Jim?
already seconded it, yeah.
Oh, okay. So let the record show that Mr. Jim Smith seconded that, not Bob DeRoche. Sorry, Bob. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. Okay, on the approved bills list, I mentioned it to Mike earlier today. There's an old adage in teaching, repetition for retention. On the tax increment financing thing, it would be, I think, good. It would be good for me anyway. I'm not going to project that on everybody else, but I can always get more repetition for retention on that particular topic. And there's some pretty large bills that relate to TIFs, which is tax increment financing. So I just wondered if Mike could, since he's our financial director as well as the deputy city administrator, as well as the human resources director, and if he could give us a resume on that.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I think it is good to refresh everyone's memory on our TIF districts. Essentially, tax increment financing, TIF, is a public financing tool that is used as a subsidy for redevelopment, infrastructure, or other community improvement projects. There are 3 main types of TIF districts: economic development, redevelopment, and housing. The city of East Bethel has 3 active TIF districts in 2023 and 1 that will become active in 2024. TIF 1-2 is a housing district consisting of a 67-unit apartment building and 1 70-unit apartment building. TIF 1-3 is a housing district consisting of 48 single-family home development called Viking Preserve. Again, only 35 of those 48 homes income qualified. So the city is required to return that $70,218.77 directly to the county. TIF 1-4 is also a housing district consisting of a 70-unit senior living facility, and TIF 1-5 is an economic development district consisting of the aggressive hydraulics expansion. Again, each year TIF funds are generated from the difference between the value of the improved property and the frozen base value. If big improvements are made on a parcel in a TIF district, then that building has a higher value and therefore pays more taxes. The city then receives TIF funds twice per year to pay back the TIF note holder for qualified expenses that have already occurred. Payments by the city to the developer on the pay-as-you-go note are contingent on the availability of TIF. Therefore, the developer, not the city, carries the risk that TIF revenues will not be sufficient to cover the pay-as-you-go payments. So again, on this slide here, I just summarized the TIF payments that will be approved at tonight's meeting. TIF 1-2 is broken into two different payments, one for Phase 1 and one for Phase 2. The one for Phase 1 is $42,153.12, and the one for Phase 2 is $84,306.25. If you recall, Phase 2 did not have all their costs qualified when we did the original payment back in, I believe, July. So this is kind of a cleanup payment from our TIF that we received back in July. TIF 1-3, again, Viking Preserve. The city receives the tax increment financing. It holds back 10% and then pays out the remainder to the project. So that's $44,434.91. This is a one-time payment to Anoka County. Again, there's 13 parcels that did not income qualify, so we are returning that money directly to Anoka County. That's $70,218.77. TIF 1-4 is the Trident Senior Living. Again, the city receives the TIF. We hold back 10%, and then we pay the rest back on the note, which is $40,349.83. And then TIF 1-5 actually has not received any increment year to date, and that will actually become active in 2024. With that, are there any further questions on the TIF payments?
That was a really excellent summary on the topic. I don't have any other questions. Do anybody else?
No, but thanks for bringing that up. Anytime you have $240,000 on the bill, it's like, what
Well,
is this?
and the tax increment financing is an important tool, so we have to understand it.
Oh.
I know you all do. I'm just dense, that all, so that's why I needed a refresher course. Only other question I had, and I'm glad Chief Santa was here, was the East Bethel Fire Department, $4,400, small tools and minor equipment, advanced first aid. I just wondered what that entailed.
Mayor, that's for the purchase of 2 AEDs. We
Those are
had,
AEDs.
Yep,
Okay.
we had 2 AEDs. The batteries went bad, and both were 20-plus years old.
Wow.
So, yep. So we
I
can
didn't
no
know
longer
they
get
lived-
batteries for them, so we had to buy 2 new ones.
Yeah, you might as well start fresh.
Yep, and they go in the 2 busiest, they were, actually out of the 2 busiest trucks that are the Tahoe and Rescue 11. So that's what those were for. And we were able to get them within 1 day.
That's great.
Yep.
Thank you very
Yep,
much.
not a problem.
Not to make things personal, but I'm a big believer in AEDs, having been zapped back twice. So they do work, and
They do.
that was, fortunately, it's been 13 years since I had to do that, but, okay, thank you for that. Another question I had was on the Alexandra House, and I know what it's about. I'm just confused why a city government is donating to a nonprofit. It just seems unusual to me. I've never seen it in a city's
Yep, so
expenses before.
This has been in the city budget since I've been here, so essentially every year, the Alexander House provides the city a itemized list of the services provided to East
Right.
Bethel residents, and then that's our share of the cost, so
And it's located in Blaine, right?
I believe so, yep.
Yeah, I just wondered, I never saw that before on a municipality's expenses. Let's see. Oh, one of the things, well, 2 things. One is there was a discussion recently by email about changing the amount that the city administrator could approve from $1,000 to $2,500. Remember that? And I was surprised it didn't come up tonight, so I'm just bringing it up.
It's something that we're still working on, and then will be presented at a later council meeting, so.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right, and then the other thing I didn't see on here was a final payment to Jack Davis. How is that being handled?
Yep, that actually is in your electronic payroll payments on the
Okay,
bill
it's-
list.
It's in there, I just
Yep.
not broken out, so,
Yep.
okay. So I just want to make sure it's all, we didn't rip him off on the last payment.
Nope, it's in there, and it's actually under that MSRS HCSP, a bulk
Okay.
of it, because that's where it kind of goes, his last payment.
All right, great. All right, well, that's it on item A. With that, I'll make a motion, we approve item A of the consent agenda.
Second.
Lots of seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none heard. I also pulled item C, and this is for the folks at Time Savers who will be listening to this. These are the minutes of the November 15th Town Hall meeting on page 30 of the packet. So it's page number of the packet. Page 30, lines 13 through 15, and it ends with, quote, "My wife didn't pick up on it," unquote, if that narrows it down. That whole sentence can just go away. It doesn't make any sense without the sound effect of knowing that I was talking about Bob's phone going off. So just please delete that entire sentence and move the sentence that is after it and attach it to the end of the paragraph right above. That's just housekeeping for the minutes because they're part of the permanent record. So the paragraph above ends at line 12, so just attach the sentence after the sentence I just asked to be deleted up to that paragraph, and that'll clarify things a lot. With that, I'll move, oh, wait a minute. One other thing is on page 31 of that same packet, those same minutes, it refers on line 16 and 21 on page 31, it refers to Oscar Grand. The man's name is Oscar Grandquist, and it's spelled correctly on page 44, line 14. But again, for the permanent record, just so you could have, it's Oscar with a K, not a C, and it's Grandquist, not Grand. If you can just make those changes, I'd appreciate it. With that,
I had a
I'll,
question on these minutes,
oh,
on the same minutes. Page 31 of the council packet,
okay,
page 5 of the town hall meeting minutes, and it's line 36,
oh,
where I don't even know how to pronounce it, starts with a K, the lady that spoke Kolozinski or whatever.
Kolajay, I don't know.
Said she noticed on June 12th, the council appointed Bob DeRoche with no interview as indicated by Lewis during the June council meeting on June 12th. That was on the 26th, if it makes any, well,
Oh.
it could make a difference if somebody were to.
Well, yeah, we want it correct,
Do some
and we want the
inquiries.
record to be correct, whatever it is. So it's June 26th, not June 12th?
Yep,
Okay. And it's mentioned twice there. Three times in two sentences.
3 times the charm.
Okay, with those corrections, I'll move that we approve item C of the consent agenda.
Second.
Bob seconds it, Bob DeRoche seconds it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. So, as far as I know, there is one thing, I made a note to myself. We approved it as part of the consent agenda, but one of the items was to accept the retirement of paid on-call firefighter.
Yeah,
That's
that-
Paul Karpinski, right?
That's item I pulled that.
Oh, you pulled it, okay.
I pulled
Good.
H
I'm
and
glad
I.
you're gonna do what I was about to do. Okay, so item I, Brian.
H first,
Okay, there you go.
the approval hire of paid on-call firefighters. We have 2 new firefighters that would be joined the force. I want to thank David Bailey and Rachel Waller and congratulate them as being hired as a probational firefighters for the city of East Bethel. I wish them luck in this career that provides a wonderful service to the city.
Good deal.
And with that, I'll make a motion to approve item H.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Do we have ayes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none heard.
How do I add another correction to that minutes?
I don't know. Our parliamentarian is the city attorney.
I mean, let me
So-
ask you, does it really matter?
Well, it depends what the item is.
Well, okay, the item is,
Yeah.
It says Davis was approached by DeRoche to see if he would be interested in taking the position of an interim basis, which he did accept on March 3rd of 2006. Well, I wasn't even in office then. So that couldn't have happened on that date,
Of 2006.
2006. And then
Yeah,
if you'd be
that,
interested in taking the position, blah, blah, he stated he stayed in that interim position until May 2006, at which time he believed the council evaluated his performance and thought he would be a good fit for the job, or for the position.
If the dates were wrong as far as March of 2006, I don't see that as a material item. If someone really wanted to look into the record, they could go and find what really happened in 2006. But, thanks for bringing it up.
All right, now we're done.
Okay, so I
Well, just-
believe we're still on I though.
Okay.
yeah, item I is accepting the retirement of paid-on-call firefighter Paul Karpinski.
Yep.
I'd really like to thank Paul for his wonderful 20 years and 2 months of service.
Yep.
That is an incredible amount of time to dedicate towards this city.
Mayor and
Brad?
Council, I just want to add on to that. I want to thank him also. And Mr. Karpinski could not be here tonight due to the medical issues. So that is why he's not here.
You let him know he has my thanks and the
And I
thanks to
tried
city
talk him into-
council.
I tried very hard to talk him into staying.
I'll bet. Yeah, a lot of experience, yeah.
Do we have a few of them that are kinda on that border? Or do we have a few of them that are getting towards that time?
Yeah, Council member, we have, I think 5 or 6 that are right at above 20 or getting close to 20. We have one at 42 or 43. We got one coming up at 35 years. Another one that has finished his 20, and I think there's 2 more coming up that will have 20 in. Yeah, we are, and with going to the state plan now, that did lower our vesting down to 5 years and increase the pension. I really don't know where we're going with this, if people are gonna hang out or if they're not. That's why we're hiring as many as possible to come in. So, but yeah, the ones that are staying around in that, I thank them a lot.
Good, thanks.
All right. So again, thank you, Mr. Kapinski, for your 20 years and 2 months of service. With that, I'll make motion to approve item I.
I'll second it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none heard. That completes our consent agenda. The next is new business. A, Planning Commission. An ordinance change that's been years in the making. Not quite there yet, but it's been a while. Ordinance change, section 28, architectural standards. I believe, Aaron, you got the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. At the April 3rd, 2023 City Council meeting, council members Jim Smith and Tim Miller recommended amendments to various city codes which are contained in the zoning code. Council directed staff to route the amendments to the Planning Commission for public hearing and recommendation. At the April 25th, 2023 meeting, the Planning Commission discussed these potential amendments after holding public hearings. Due to the levels of mixed support and limited amount of time for discussion of the proposed revisions, staff thought it was in the best interest to bring the 2 zoning codes amendments back for further discussion and formal recommendations at the May 23rd, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. A formal recommendation for section 24 of exterior storage was presented and passed at the June 26th, 2023 council meeting. Section 28 of the architectural standards had numerous revisions after input from the Planning Commission and the EDA. City staff have spent some time compiling all the recommendations and created a 3rd draft revision for review, discussion, and formal recommendation or direction. City Council should review and discuss the proposed revision of the ordinance along with providing staff direction for preparation of the final draft ordinance for subsequent approval. I had the opportunity to go through all the Planning Commission minutes and meetings, as well as the EDA meeting, and I came up with 5 bullet points after creating a third draft to summarize for you what the draft says. This third draft essentially creates a 1 block distance directly adjacent to both sides of Highway 65 in all of the business and light industrial zones in which existing standards would remain. This was done in an attempt to incorporate the variety of mixed opinions of the Planning Commission and the EDA. The second bullet point is outside of that 1 block distance, there would now be established an incubator type area in which all proposed standards from Councilman Miller and Councilman Smith would be allowable to property owners, including post-frame construction, painted steel, siding, less glass, and architectural precast concrete panels, etc. This incubator concept would create a half-a-mile area within the existing business zones, light industrial, and mixed-use zone in which more affordable buildings could be constructed to allow for startups to get a business going at reduced material cost, and after time, if they choose so, relocate to an area directly adjacent to Highway 65 in the higher architectural standard area. It also removes the requirement for new construction to have windows on the side and rear faces of the building in response to the added security request. And it also still includes the ultimate overriding provision, which already exists in the section that states other comparable or superior material approved by the City Council. This would permit the City Council to determine case by case, application by application, if a proposed building material is comparable or superior to the existing list of available exterior wall finishes already defined in code. I think this is worth repeating. It's a provision that currently exists already in section 28 of the code. I have included a redline version of the third draft of this, which accomplishes items 1 through 5. I did review it today and have one additional recommendation if there are no questions on the proposed third draft.
I do have not so much a question, where we have items 3 and 4, properties located within 1,320 feet. I guess I'd like to see in there or connected to sewer and water, and in item number 4, put in there or not connected by sewer and water. Because there are properties outside of that 1,320 feet that are served by sewer and water. And I would like to see higher architectural standards in our sewer and water districts.
Have you're the 2 authors of the changes, and you've reviewed all this stuff? Because this is the first I've heard of this incubator district and all within a block of 65 and then an incubator. I had never heard of this before. This is all new to me. You guys reviewed all this stuff?
Yeah, it was brought up last.
And I don't see
last
what
week.
hooking to water and sewer, how that impacts your architectural standards. I don't get the connection on that.
I don't understand that either.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, the incubator area, if you will, some cities have zones set aside in their commercial
But
districts for
am I
incubator
wrong?
buildings.
Is this the first time this has come up? Because I don't remember this
The use of the
before.
word incubator is the first time it's
Well,
come
no,
up.
but I mean having 1 block and then having a half mile and then breaking it out like this.
If you look in,
This is new
if you
for
look
me.
at the light industrial zone, item C, I think it's on page,
But it's like a subdivision of the mixed-use district, isn't it?
the way that I have it proposed is that all the way up and down the corridor, within 1 block or 1,320 feet of the center line of Highway 65, all the way up and down the corridor,
But
would-
that's a
would maintain.
subdivision of the mixed-use district, which goes further to the east or west than 1,320 feet.
Right, so outside of the 1320, we would loosen the standards to include the things that,
Well, yeah, but where did this particular,
that's what I'll, that's where I'm,
innovation come
that's where I'm
from?
getting at here.
Okay.
If you look at the architectural standards in the light industrial zone on page 131 of your packet, industrial properties which are not located 1,350 feet of the center line of Highway 65 shall meet the following standards. So we had some similar language already in the light industrial chapter of the code. So I then brought that over to the business side of the zoning code so that it matched that language as close as possible, so that that one block distance off of the center line of 65 will maintain a higher standard, but anything east or west of one block, or 1320, which is a quarter of a mile, can have a lesser standard to allow for maybe our home-based businesses in town that want to do a startup business exterior from their home, be able to afford to build a building anywhere up and down the 65 corridor. And then once they materialize and have more employees and more capital, they can move closer to Highway 65, which has the higher standard. So that was some of the interest that came out of the EDA as well as the Planning Commission, that the corridor of 65, the properties directly adjacent to 65, maintain a higher standard. That's where the
I'm not
blend
the,
of
I'm
them
not
came
the
together.
author of these, and I don't really have a dog in a fight. I don't own, nor do I intend to build a building within a block of 65 in this lifetime. But you guys are, and to me, it seems like a torturous treatment of the zoning, but, you know, again, I don't have a dog in the fight, but do you guys have any concerns about this? You propose the changes?
Well, I guess, I don't know if it's a concern, but I actually wrote a note to Matt today asking him to speak with the city engineer to get the standards for the force main that's running up to the north of the city, so that we can get an understanding of just what size pipe that is and what it would take for a business to hook up, because you know, you're not supposed to ask a question you know the answer to, but I want to see what comes up. Because I was around when all this stuff was discussed, and that was not designed for a bunch of businesses to hook up to. It was a way to shut down the plant that was up in Whispering Aspen Castle Towers, because that was a failing plant. And the beds were bad, and we said, well, we've got these 2 million, so let's run a force main up and let's decommission that plant, because we're gonna have to do something within the next 5 to 10 years anyway. So, you know, to make plans of what we wanna put where, not knowing what size pipe do we even have to begin with, and if we do have big enough, what's it gonna cost the business? Because now, the question was asked once we ran that force main, somebody who did wanna add on, and they were told $75,000 for the lift stations and to hook into the pipe. And that was in 2011. So, you know, I think we need to get a lot more information. Before we start setting up parameters close to the highway, we need to know, are we gonna have to run new pipe up that direction if we're gonna expand? Or are we gonna allow people, if businesses come in, to say, okay, you can have well and septic on the property without hooking up? There's some questions that I just, like I said, I was thinking about them over the weekend, don't know why.
So if I may respond, the existing zoning code has business and light industrial zones all the way up 65 already. That's already been planned for.
Right.
That's long ahead of before I ever got here. Number two, just because we allow 20% glass on the front side of a building and 80% brick doesn't have anything to do with the septic system of a business. So if a business wants to come in and they want to put a location in right now that's not serviced by sewer and water, all we're asking is that they be allowed to have a lesser standard of the exterior finish of the material. It's got nothing to do with the septic system at this point, with the way that things are designed. Now, we're running out of room in the industrial park. In fact, I have plans today for the last couple lots that are available in our industrial park. We need to start looking at where else we can start placing things, i.e. maybe another industrial park, or we have other already defined light industrial areas along the corridor that are gonna start getting asked for, sold, marketed. Those people are gonna realize that they need to have a light industrial zone, they want to expand. Just because there's no sewer and water there at this point isn't stopping them from coming in and putting up a post-frame construction building 1 block off of 65 and having a well and septic system. The
Well, but
design
it
standards got
may.
nothing to do with the well and septic. This is just the amount of glass on the front of the building, the amount of brick on the front of the building, whether they need to have windows on the back or not, whether they can have a metal roof, what color things can be, can they do tip-up concrete panels? It doesn't have anything to do with the septic. I understand what your perspective, but this is design standards of a building. This is the facade. What do you want the building to look like?
Right, but that could be a determining factor of what business wants to put it, and if they can put it there, or are they gonna put this here, and then all of a sudden, we're gonna come and say, well, now you gotta hook up to the sewer water, which, by state law, it's 429, I believe, is this chapter, says that if the sewer water runs by your house or your business, the city can force you to hook up, which is what we ran into down in the park. And to say now we're running out of room for businesses down there, that's a crying shame. Because when this whole fiasco was put together, it wasn't supposed to be housing down there. It was supposed to be all commercial, and we were gonna onion skin it out, commercial, then a little lighter, and then a little bit of housing here, and then back, where now it's such a hodgepodge. So before we go tell somebody, yeah, it's gonna be this way, we need to figure out so it's own business. It was brought up to me that we need to look at our zoning and figure out, are we zoned the way we wanna be before we get ourselves in another pickle? Like we did with Capstone, or Elevage, or,
So in response to that, rezoning is a lot more lengthy process and a lot longer discussion. This is a simple zoning text amendment to our zoning code that changes the standards that Councilman Smith and Councilman Miller proposed for businesses in our light industrial and our commercial district.
well, we're
So-
kinda going in circles here. I understand what you're saying, but I don't know why we just can't leave it the way it is. I don't foresee this big mass run of business coming in saying, hey, we wanna build this right now. Now, I know that there was talk about doing something on 65 and Sims with that whole project, and ideally, that's where the sewer water should have went, because then it could have hooked up to the schools, could have hooked up to that developments over there, Hidden Haven, the whole schmear. But that didn't happen, so now, if we have to kind of think, I mean, this isn't a Sims game, we can't hit just reset. We have to do what our comp plan said and go, okay, let's figure out, what do we want to put where? That's gonna make sense. What is reality as far as us running the sewer water up? In a lot of people's minds, it's just, we'll just put the pipe in the ground and heck, that's easy to do. Well, that is, except when you get down to the cost and who's going to put it in. We don't own all that property, and to get it, are the people gonna be willing to sell, or are we gonna have to eminent domain, which we wouldn't, I mean, come on, it's stupid. But getting back to your point, if I were gonna build a building, I would wanna know in fact, I did this with my daughter and son-in-law. I went into Lent City Hall, I said, okay, what's your comp plan? I would have never done that. What do you plan on doing in these certain areas? Because there's things that we want to do. Now, when you're talking about bringing a business in, that's a little bit more critical than a home, because a home you can probably just sell and get out. If it's a business, I mean, I don't know. Well, it's you guys' bill.
Councilman DeRoche, I point you to page 109. This was the reasons or the justification that Councilman Miller and Councilman Smith proposed amendments to the current standards. This is what they've highlighted. These were all encompassed in the third draft, as well as some of the comments from the EDA, as well as the Planning Commission back-to-back meetings.
I'm
So
sorry, what page would you say?
109 of your packet.
I was trying to get my computer to come back up.
109 through 111 were the suggested amendments from Councilman Miller and Councilman Smith back in May or April. To which we then brought the ordinance forward for the Planning Commission, had a public hearing, and then they discussed the proposed amendments, 2 different meetings. So this is a culmination of all of the items as well as what the EDA has proposed with the proposed standards.
You guys concur?
Oh, yeah, since May, we've done a lot of different things on it. We've tried to incorporate a lot of different committees, their ideas and for what to do. Basically, it was designed to allow new businesses to come in and not have to inquire the cost of the brick and mortar. We didn't want to put it in the industrial park because it just wouldn't fit in there right, and there is a standard. But it would allow them to get close to 65, either expand current businesses or help a lot of the new businesses that we're thinking about coming in. One of the things that came up was a lot of the security aspects of it, and with no windows or glass doors on the back. Since then, since May, as you can see, this is like the third you said third
Correct, yep.
rendition of this, of which we're trying to take everyone's aspect into account, a lot of good points, and try and come up with something that we can start with. Thus, the term incubator came up, that we can start something, see how it goes, try and grow the new businesses and try and grow new businesses along with expand without the cost, while giving them some more security. Now,
And you realize, unless I'm reading this wrong, virtually no changes in the architectural standards are gonna occur within a block of 65, 1,320 feet. That's not being changed, so it's like, we're not gonna change this, but outside of this, we'll change it. See, that's what seems odd to me. It's not based on B1, B2, B3 or zoning things. It's based on proximity to 65, which is strictly about how it looks to people moving through the city.
mhm.
It's a different criterion. That's what throws me off a little bit. That's why I wonder if it came up before. I see in the black print, it's in the old.
Yeah, there was some version of that that existed in
But it's a change now based on distance, not on zoning. More as far as the allowable changes to the architecture.
So Jim and Tim, is that what you were looking for?
Originally,
I mean,
we're getting close.
things are added and taken out and added and taken out. I mean, if we could see this before it comes to a council meeting, and we could have hashed it out or given our thoughts, but whatever. It's you guys' ordinance.
Right, because what we're trying to do is make it more, so it isn't so expensive for businesses to come here. Because on your pole buildings, on your faces nowadays, a lot of them you can't even tell it's a pole building.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and you showed
to
us
make
all
it look-
those photos
it's
of beautiful.
unreal.
Yeah.
And for a business, especially one starting out or whatever, we're trying to make it inexpensive versus panels and stuff like that. So that was our goal on that part of it.
Yeah.
So that's all the whole.
Well, if you don't have a concern about the criteria, then, that's the criteria that are incorporated in this, then,
What do you think, Tim?
No, I think it's a good starting point. I mean, we have to do something to start and help new businesses and other businesses expand and home businesses. We've been wrestling with this since May. It's tough to take all the different committees and their ideas and concerns and incorporate them into things. It's also one thing to talk with local businesses and the people who have businesses off 65. And that's what it boils down to, is how can we help these businesses, and how can we help jumpstart or give them some reason to come here or expand before they go somewhere else. I think it's a good starting point. It's a good way to test that market, see what happens with it without having something be popped right on 65 that once it's there, it's there. That's where I'm at with this right now.
The only other thing would like to point out is I had a chance to review it today. There are 3 different distances from the center line of Highway 65 identified throughout the code. One of them is 1,320 square feet, or 1,320 feet, which is a quarter of a mile.
Which is a lot in this terminology, right?
It's a
A lot.
40-acre section. The length of a 40-acre section is 1,320. Then in C, there's a section that identifies 1,350. And then there's another section that identifies 1,325. When I go to the city's definition of the distance of a city block in our design standards, Mike, if you can bring that up on the screen there for me. Our design standards for the design of a city block identify that a block should be 1,325, which is 5 feet over a quarter of a mile. So we have 3 different distances that sort of all talk about the same thing. I don't know if we want to just clarify what we want. Do we want it to stay at a city block at 1,325? Do we want to go a quarter of a mile at 1,320? Or do we want to look at 1,350, which was identified later in the code?
Well, then how would you incorporate that with Coon Lake?
This is only the corridor of Highway 65. That's all that this is identifying right now.
Well, I'd
So-
say just to unify all of those with the definition of length of a block that we already have at 1325.
That makes the most sense to me, because then we don't have to change the definition of a block. We can do all of the changes in the final draft of section 28, so that everything is 1325, which then cleans up all of the different distances within the code in design standards and then the architectural standards. That was gonna be my suggestion. Let's define one standard.
Yeah, as far as the commissions go, they're advisory groups. It's not like we're bound by what they say,
Right.
you know? And it just strikes me as odd that you have a subdivision now with architectural standards can be changed outside of this 1,320 feet. But all this stuff is arbitrary to a certain degree, you know? And so it just seems kind of odd to me, but so much, I've already expressed my thoughts. What was your thing about the water and sewer, Brian?
On items 3 and 4, properties located within 1320, one block of the center line, or connected to sewer and water. And item 4,
Oh, so it's either or, huh?
yeah, or not connected by sewer and water, because if you look at where the holiday station is, you look at aggressive hydraulics, the 1320 doesn't incorporate all that we have where sewer and water goes, because it only goes back to, is it Buchanan right there? That's
Yeah.
about where the line is. The properties to the west of that are connected by sewer and water. We
Like
have,
Nexus, yeah.
well, we have Nexus over there. We have the senior living facility that,
Yeah.
just to keep property appearances and property values comparable to the investment that people are putting into those properties that they already have, that it should be, the length makes sense, because that will go up and down the entire corridor, the one block, and then, or connected, which means if you are going to be connected to sewer and water, that these design standards apply. If you are outside of the block or not connected by sewer and water, then item 4 standards would apply.
So what are your thoughts on that, guys?
I don't have a problem with that.
The only thing I'm thinking is, that's quite a distance. It depends on what pipe they have to tie to. Like, if we're gonna force them at 1,325 feet to hook up to sewer and water, where's the line, you know what I mean? Like, where's the line gonna be where they tie to? They're gonna have to go the 1,325 feet and pay for that? That's a lot of money. You know what I mean? Are we gonna have arms going out?
That,
That depends too.
this would just be applied towards any facilities that, or any roadways that, any properties that would currently be served by existing sewer and water. Like if somebody built right next to the senior living facility that, okay, there's sewer and water that runs down that road, they would hook up to it.
They could tie to that.
Okay. If it's going to be on, Zip Buchanan that runs by the post office down there, there's no sewer and water, so that would not apply to them.
Okay. That's what I mean, because it's like if a business decides to build and they're the only one there, we can't force them to go 1,325 feet up.
No, if there be existing service.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I have no problem with that.
Are we complete on our discussion, or we need more?
I think it's a good start.
Anybody want to make a motion to approve these revisions to the architectural standards?
Actually,
ordinance?
Mr. Mayor, if you guys just want to give me direction to come back with the final ordinance revision at the next meeting, it'll have all the changes drafted into the ordinance that you can make a motion and approve.
Can you send that out to us on our city email so we can?
As soon as I have it done, I'll send it out.
Yeah, good
Yep.
idea.
Yeah, look it
Yep,
over.
that'd be
Yep.
good.
That'll give you a chance to look it over
That'd be
Cool.
in
good.
advance.
So is that all the direction you need then, Aaron?
I got it. If everyone's okay with your ads with sewer and water and changing it to 1325 so that it matches our block standard, I think I have the right direction here.
Okay,
That's fine.
thank you, Aaron.
Yep.
Are there any, I don't see anything under department reports that. Do you, Mike?
Nope,
Only other thing is 9, staff reports,
I have no staff reports.
council reports.
Just want to say Happy New Year to everybody, and please, hope it's a safe New Year's. If you need a sober driver, please,
Yeah, don't drink and
Call
drive.
Brian.
Yeah.
you can call me. I might not be a sober driver, but I might be able to find you one.
He's willing to take the hit for it though, huh? No, yeah, just don't drink and drive. That's,
He'll be running into,
ridiculous. huh?
he'll be running into our local deputies.
Yeah.
The best case scenario, worst case is we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Anything else? I've got just something to say on the city council report. Once again, we're waiting like it's an ordinance change here for an issue of the East Bethel Bulletin to come out, and I'm really fit to be tied about it. I submitted material in May that didn't get out until September, and then something in Councilman Member Miller composed for what was to be the October edition, which still isn't out. And this is just nuts. I mean, we identified with a little survey we did earlier in the year, and I'm working on something to expand the whole survey thing, but not to go through our East Bethel Bulletin, but through SurveyMonkey, and a method that cannot be gamed by anybody who has vested interest one way or the other. I'm I'm working on that, so we can get more feedback from the residents of East Bethel on a timely basis, which I think we need. It's arrogant to think that we can presume to know what 12,300 people want, you know, on every topic. That's ridiculous. And we have a means nowadays to get better information. So, but we've got to get this East Bethel Bulletin, which we did identify as a single most important communication tool between the city and the residents. So we need to get that dialed in so it can be reliable, whether it's 4 times a year or 6 times a year. It's more important that it actually comes out. It's been on our city website for I don't know how long, but that doesn't do people who don't go to the website any good at all. And Councilman Miller had a very interesting article on the Cedar Creek ecosystem, and it's a jewel within East Bethel, and I've lived here 27 years before I even knew about it, and I rode by it 100 times on my motorcycle, and it's a fascinating place with a great story, and I'd like to get it out there so people can visit it come summertime. But we just want to really emphasize that we need to get our communications dialed in. We need to get our whatever methodology we're going to use to find out what the people of East Bethel want, besides just a 2 a year, a spring and a fall town meeting, or you know, just ad hoc. There are better ways to do it nowadays, and we need to embrace them and dial them in. That's all I got to say
Is there any
about that.
update to our AV? We were told that was gonna be looked at.
We had Midco come out, I believe, 2 weeks ago to look at the buzz sound on channel 10, and he traced it back to an issue that's actually in our AV room, so it's not something on the Midco end. So we have to have now our video tech people come out and relook at our equipment back there.
Oh, so there is I thought it was just my TV. Turn it on and there's this buzz.
You know, nope, it's
Check all
something
your
that's
ground
originating
wires.
from our equipment back there. So
You got a bad ground, huh?
yeah, so.
Unless anybody has anything else, I'll entertain a
No,
motion.
just have a good New Year's.
I just want to say, Kevin, you're right, and I agree with what you're saying, because we're here to represent the residents, and it's important that we hear from them so we can make a good decision that they've decided. And we really need to do that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we do. And it's doable, and it's not inordinately expensive. So there's no excuse. There's none.
I agree.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mundell makes a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller says second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. None opposed.
Imagine that.
Yep.